Okay, so I started off making this video and it's just going to kind of be like everything that I take to a gig. So I've tried to like get all of the pieces of gear that I would take to a gig to put in my car. And then I started doing a spreadsheet of how much this comes to. And I was a little bit shocked at the results. Anyway, it comes to over £11,000. I could put this at the end of the video, but I thought I'll put it at the start as well so you can get this little bit. It's just a bit kind of shocking to me. There are some things in here which are a bit on the luxury side, so like the Fractal FM9, that's like £2,000, so that adds up. And then I've got a K-Line Truxton in here, which I think if you bought one new now is about £2,900, so there's £5,000 there. So I guess it would be £6,000, maybe on a normal kind of gig. You know, how much budget would you set aside for a guitar? I guess that's up to you. One of mine is a parts caster, which is like £500, and then I don't know, £2,000 for a gigging guitar I think is probably fair-ish. Anyway, so then there's that, and then there's all the PA and all these bits and pieces. I didn't factor in like cost of leads, which of course are not cheap either, and costs of like my lighting stuff, and also my actual laptop which I use to run tracks and stuff, and the DJ set afterwards. So there's a whole bunch of costs that I didn't realise that I was kind of trucking down the M5 in my Honda Jazz with gear that is far and above the value of my Honda Jazz. So
this channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. So I gig pretty much every weekend throughout the summer. This time now is when it starts to tail off a little bit before Christmas, and then obviously over winter there doesn't tend to be as many gigs in the UK, particularly if you're playing weddings like I tend to do mostly. Now, I was speaking to Daddario, who approached me to make some videos. I already used Daddario stuff anyway, so it kind of to me was like the perfect situation where Daddario were like, well, do you want to do some videos on some stuff with us? And I was like, absolutely yes. So in this video I'm going to talk to you about all of the stuff that I take to a gig. Some of it will be Daddario stuff, some of it will not. One of the things you might take from this video is that it's probably fairly easy to forget some things, and that actually a more organised approach to some of this stuff might make more sense. So when that becomes valid, I'll point that out. The most important thing to take to a gig is a guitar. Actually, David Beebe had someone show up to a gig the other day without their bass guitar. Whoops. So this is the telly that I've been taking to most of my gigs, my parts caster. Any gig that I go to, I will take at least 2 guitars, but mostly just 2 guitars unless I need an acoustic for the daytime. And I chuck it in a dual case like this. I've done a review on this particular case. This is a Thomann case, one of the cheapest double cases. I've gigged it for about 10 years, and it's worked pretty reliably. It's starting to fall apart now, but you know, I tend to take 2 of the same type of guitar. So in here I'll also have a K-Line Truxton Telly as my backup. So that's 2 guitars, and one of them is a parts caster, one of them is not. Then in this bag, I would have in the past had various bits and pieces, but I've actually decided that that's not going to be the plan going forward. Also take a wireless system, as normally on the gigs that I play, I've got to do the PA and sound as well. We don't gig with a sound man in my main band. Take these out to front of house and check whether things sound like a band or not. Many times I'll be taking a modeler of some sort, so it might be the Fractal FM9, which I've been using quite a lot recently, or the Helix or the HX Stomp. They normally go in the Helix gig bag thingy, which is actually pretty handy for carrying stuff. What is that? Oh, that's my book of notes for gig stuff that I never actually use. Again, I think it's probably a bad idea to have loads of things in different bags, so I'm kind of migrating to a different system. But a lot of the time my modeler will go in a hybrid kind of setup. This, which is my Matchless Lightning clone made by Rift, it has a 6v6 power output section, but I basically use this as a clean pedal platform, and then either the HX Stomp I send off before the amp goes to the front of house, or same with the FM9, you know, split off. One split gets an amp and a cab, one split goes straight to here. It works really well for me, and actually I find it super helpful to have real amps on stage to help with the front of house, so that not everything's having to go through the same speakers. You get a bit more separation. You know, particularly having a real bass amp on stage, I think helps things actually feel like a live band. Other setup is sometimes this, but I'll normally take this as a spare anyway. So just HX Stomp, which is running delays, and then front of house amp and cab, and then got a JHS Angry Driver, Carbon X from Brown Amps, and 5-watt World Bus. Basically just use that more like a straightforward pedal setup. And then I have this as like a backup, which was the Third Man hardware collaboration with Donna, the Jack White designed distortion, phaser and echo, just all able to run off one little 9-volt thing. If things went down and in a pinch, I could probably get through the gig just about with this and a volume pedal. So that's the pedal board. So that's most of the guitar stuff, as well as this rather handy bag from D'Addario, which actually is going to be what I'm going to use to basically have a bit more of a sorted life. Now, D'Addario tell me that people use this bag for things like cameras as well. It might not just be useful for guitarists, but it's got this special cable designed section here. I'll talk to you about it in more depth and show you what's in this bag. But of course you're going to need guitar strings in there. They're up here, and like an accessory bag. It's got a mic compartment, as well as a compartment where you can put things like your HX Stomp and all sorts. So a really handy bag that D'Addario have designed, and actually this is going to be where I keep like the important stuff, so that I'm not hunting around for random cables, but actually if it's something that I have a home for, much like I don't know if you've ever seen like in the room in an operating theatre or in a tool shed or stuff like that, they have like a really useful kind of hack, which is to have that they each have a home, and that's basically what this is doing for me. It's kind of like a home for my stuff, so that this bag goes with me to a gig and I know where everything will be in it. Makes sense, right? So let's start off with the important stuff. So I've got D'Addario strings in my gig bag. I've used D'Addario strings way before D'Addario ever got in touch with me. I used to use 11s, so I've got a set of them in there. I've moved to 10s in general, so I've got, you know, like 10 sets of 10s. They've got various different brands. This is XT, which is like extended life but not fully coated. And I've recently been experimenting with 9.5s as well, as like that in-between gauge between 9s and 10s, a bit more comfortable for bending. But strings are very important to have spares. I think you definitely need, if you're playing with Strats and Tellies that have the kind of vintage style tuners, is a string cutter or a string winder. So they make this little pack which has a bunch of other stuff in there, a multi-tool which is useful, a capo, and you know, various bits and pieces, all important string cutting tool. So that's
something I would definitely recommend in my guitar case itself. Historically, I've just carried around one of those just so you can do your string changes without having to worry about it. D'Addario also make these handy earbuds. Now I've got another brand of ear things that I've used up until this point. I just use like Ear Hub or whatever, just buy a bunch of them online, just to, you know, save your ears from drummers. And that's also where I could put, for instance, my earbuds, any bits and pieces like that. A really handy bag. You'll see down here as well, cables are a really difficult thing to keep tidy. 7 cables in this kind of cable tidy, and I think that might actually be a good idea even at home for me, because then I can put my kind of specialist cables in here at all times, and then if I've got things like just normal jacks, normal cables, they can go into another bag, and this can keep control of where I keep my specialist cables. Other essentials that I like to take, a capo, because it changes the way I play, even if it's not essential. It's a thing that I think for acoustic gigs in particular, really nice to have. And I take D'Addario Black Ice picks to every gig. Again, this is a thing I was using way before D'Addario ever approached me to make some videos. I'd also take microphones to every gig. Now, just a basic dynamic mic. I think this is a AKG D5 or something like that, and this is an Aston Stealth, which I use for kick drum. So this one, the other cool thing is that this bag has a handy little mic compartment at the top, so you can put your mics in the top, keep them safe and from getting bashed, so that's handy too. A couple of mics. Once the mics are in, there's this really handy point here where I can just pop that down, and then if I was taking a specific pedal that I wanted to demo that day, then I could chuck that there, or backup pedals. That's a really handy little pocket. Another zip in there. There's like places upon places on places to put stuff in here. Or for example, if I'm gigging a Helix or an HX Stomp, I always make sure to take a backup, and that could go in the top there. And more importantly, if you're going to be taking something that needs a special power supply, don't forget to pack power supplies. So I would always have 2 spares for the HX Stomp if I'm taking that. Otherwise, most of my modelers are going to be using just one of these, you know, an IEC cable, which is, I think, preferable. Then I've had some questions about what PA system and stuff I'm actually using. So I use 2 Yamaha DXR 15s for front of house. That enables me to not have to take a sub. Most gigs that I do are sort of small to medium sized venues, nothing huge, sort of maybe like 100 to 150 people most of the time. And oftentimes in a room which doesn't really want you to be playing with like subs and loads and loads and loads of noise. Often at a wedding they want you to keep volumes down rather than up. And for that reason, actually taking these 2 high-ish powered tops that don't have subs makes more sense to me. I also take then, to most gigs, I'll either take the amp and cab or a Fender Tonemaster FR12, as well as 2 DB Technologies Flexis 8-inch monitors. So one of those I basically chain off front of house so that I can hear what is going out of front of house and check balance and stuff without having to be the other side of it. And then the other normally goes to a singer, or at least as a backup in case the singer's in-ears stop working. I take a little lighting rig, just 1 bar. I should probably use 2 because it looks better, but 1 bar is about what I can fit in the car. I think it might be like a Parabar Cobb, something like that. Anyway, it looks alright. Not the cheapest looking lights ever, but also not the most expensive. Obviously you need stands. I use these Millennium stands, and also a guitar stand. Importantly, I'd take a Hercules Trident guitar stand, so that's 3-way. It'd be nice. I take a laptop as well in a laptop bag with an Ethernet cable, and obviously I've got like this suitcase which is full of XLRs. It's got jack leads in there. It's got some specialist leads in there. It's got 2 jack to XLRs, which I use for HX Stomp or FM9. So that just goes balance jack to XLR.
because XLR is easily extendable. I think that's a pretty good idea. So, you know, you could just use straightforward XLR out of the FM9 as well, but if I'm using HX Stomp, that doesn't have an XLR, obviously. And then that's got a mixer in there as well, like a little tiny mixer. And I do take a spare Yamaha mixer just in case anything happens with my mixer, which is a Behringer X18, I think is what it's called. It's like one of these ones which you can put an iPad on, though I don't have an iPad. I think that covers everything that I take to a gig, basically. Anyway, it's a lot of gear, and the total amount that this comes up to, doing some rough kind of maths, the stuff that I pack into a Honda Jazz to drive an hour and a half down the road to play to 7 people who aren't really listening, comes to this wonderful amount. Thanks to D'Addario for sponsoring this video. I think it's been a fun one, and definitely this is going to be a small but huge change, because at least now things are organised in a bit, and you know, this can be sort of the thing that organises a little bit of chaos in my life. The D'Addario backline bag. It's got holes for everything. So you put like your 9-volt on this side. Got 2 of them in there. You put your HX Stomp power supplies in here. It's really handy, actually.